Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you've stuck it out this whole time with watching these videos, I applaud you. But anyways, enough of me talking. Let's get to the top 10, shall we? Number 10, we have Death Angel with the Evil Divide. Wow. Death Angel have returned with a vengeance. This is one of their best albums. Some people think it's their best. I don't think anything can beat their debut Ultraviolence. That's just me. But you can come close to your greatest work and still be excellent. And this album, man, it's like the whole thrash resurgence has really taken over the world of heavy metal. And that's just a fact. Number 9, we have Allegiance with Proponent for Sentience. And I know there's been a lot of controversy with this band doing the whole crowdfunding thing and how it was handled. But hey, I'm all for them doing the crowdfunding. In fact, crowdfunding is good for metal, so that way it still can keep going financially somehow. But anyways, this album, prog, tech, mellow death from America, and wow. Just listen to the album, you don't need me to tell you that. Now we get to a couple of controversial ones. Then again, it might be considered a bit biased because I love these bands, but hey, you need to listen to the albums to really understand. Number 8, we have Avenged Sevenfold's The Stage, the album that came out of nowhere, or came out unexpectedly on October 28th when people thought it was coming out in December. But they swerve us and they put it out really early, but when I listened to it, top to bottom, a masterpiece. This has definitely been their best album since Nightmare. Even though I really liked Hail to the King quite a lot, this album blew it out of the water. They went into prog thrash metal territory, and of course the longest song of their history with This Exists, with that voice cameo from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Interesting stuff. Plus, first time ever blast beats on an Avenged Sevenfold album. Wow. Definitely give this a listen. And number 7, this is where I think the shitstorm's gonna get started, but hey, I don't care. This album was awesome, regardless to what people think. Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Personally, if I wanted to go 100% biased, this would have been number 1, but hey, I'm better than that. But this is still a great double album. Despite the one weaker track in Man Unkind, everything else is absolutely incredible. The phenomenal opening track, then into songs like Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, and especially for me personally, Halo on Fire, Murder One with that excellent tribute to Lemmy, rest in peace, and then Spit Out the Bone being a thrasher piece at the end. It's like this album was where Metallica tried to combine everything they've done in the past, except Saint Anger, thank God, and mash it all into the modern day of music. And this was excellent. And if people say that it's lackluster, those people are fucking stupid. Number 6, we have Ishan's Arctis. Ishan decided to take his extreme prog metal sound and take it into areas that sound like it came from the 1970s or 80s. There was a lot of old school metal vibes to this album, and Ishan's crazy screeching voice and at times clean voice, plus Matt from Trivium doing some guest vocals on a song. Pretty cool there. But anyways, definitely check this album out. If you're a fan of Emperor, if you're a fan of Ishan's work outside of Emperor, definitely give this a listen. And drink. Now we get into the top 5, and this is where things get very difficult. Number 5, Opeth Sorceress. Opeth, going into the more traditional prog rock territory, seemed a bit nerve-wracking for people, but I enjoyed it. I liked Heritage, I really liked Pale Communion. But on this album, they kind of returned to form just a little bit. They don't have the death metal anymore still, But they don't have to do it. This was a prog metal slash prog rock album. It's like they combined both of them into a masterpiece of an album. This is definitely a hell of an album for people to get into. Say like you haven't listened to Opeth since their death metal days with Watershed. Definitely give this one a listen. This was a heavy album with certain songs, like, for instance, it's left me the title track, and so many others that I can't remember off the top of my head. Number 4, we get into more thrash metal. We have Brotherhood of the Snake by Testament. Arguably the best Bay Area thrash band of all time. Come out once again with a hell of an album. Dark Roots they've been on a tear with Formation of Damnation and '08 being fantastic. Got even better with Dark Roots of Earth, which I have, and it just got even better with Brotherhood of the Snake, with a great lineup of Chuck Billy, Eric Peterson, Alex Skolnick, Steve DiGiorgio, Gene Hoglan. This is almost practically a supergroup. And oh my god, was this an absolute brutal album. And wow. All I'm going to say is if you listen to Can of Business, you have to hear him say, "Smoke 'em if you got 'em." Number 3, another thrash masterpiece, and also with prog in there. We have Terminal Redux by Vector. I initially did give this album the score of 100 out of 100. It's dropped to a 98, but it still don't deny the fact that this is an absolute masterwork of progressive thrash metal. Only the band's third album, they are showing that they are going to be thrash metal's next biggest titans. Because these guys are absolutely wacky, not only versatile, but masterful. And now we get into the top 2. This is definitely where it got tough. Because I love both of these albums to death, and I still listen to them from time to time. One of them was scored at first at 95 out of 100, but it's gone up in score. The other album went up in score as well. It almost got to the point where I thought I had to flip a coin for this one, because it was that close. And I thought about making them co-champions, but after much deliberation and giving them another listen, each album another listen, I thought that was the best way to really determine who would be number 1. One of them was more recent than the other, so I had more time to digest one than the other. And it's funny, the one that I had more time to digest ends up at number 2, Winter Thrice by Borknagar. This is an album I own on CD, and this was a beautiful album. Progressive Viking metal is the best genre classification I can give this. Beautiful, clean vocals, really excellent black metal screeches from time to time, and the musicianship was incredible. The guitars were excellent, that bass, the drums. This was just an emotional album, talking all about the lives of Vikings climbing up mountains and going through winter. Definitely listen to this album. Bravo to Borknagar for making a masterwork. And that ends up with number 1. The album that started as a 100 out of 100, and it stayed a 100 out of 100. The Northern Sanctuary by Witherscape. Again, words could not describe the utter brilliance and utter emotion that this album was able to project with me. Considering this is a new project of Dan Swano, one of my all-time favorite musicians, his voice soars and is also brutal at times. Progressive death metal, melodic death metal, mixed in with a little bit of arena rock and atmosphere, And out came this album, top to bottom, perfect album. I feel like if we did a best metal albums of the decade list, this would definitely be top 5. Bravo to you, Witherscape. And also bravo to Borknagar, because for a good bit, that could have been Album of the Year. And bravo to every other band that I mentioned for putting out great work for metal and hard rock. And this year could possibly have been the best year of this decade for metal, because I hardly ran into any clunkers. The only ones I ran into were the god-awful Drowning Pool album, the mediocre Entombed AD album, the boring Chelsea Grin album, and the somewhat irritating Asking Alexandria album. But other than that, nothing in the way of major disappointments. This was an amazing year for metal. I want to thank you all who watched my reviews of these albums and stuck around to the end of the year for this list. But I want to know, what did you think? What did you think was the best metal album of the year? I'd love to know. But anyways, I am drained. I need to get to sleep, considering I am in the middle of the night doing this for you people. But hey, a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. And let's hope 2017 for metal continues to be amazing.